Okay, today we're talking about magnetic energy and pollution. So I'm going to try to discuss a few of the modalities that could be used in the near future to clean up pollution around the planet and some of the technology involved in that process. We can begin with the atmosphere. And keep in mind, when magnetic technology is being developed and we're starting to work on units, it gives the ability to have some pretty fun vehicles and different types of technology that could, from a conventional point of view or from an empirical point of view, you could have things that you currently don't have, such as airplanes that never have to land and that are basically anti-gravity, so that they could be much larger. They could carry all kinds of technology that helps clean the atmosphere. But prior to that kind of more crazy, advanced, and fun stuff, one of the things that's a simpler process for balancing atmospheric chemical ratios and atmospheric elemental ratios is the idea of just having units run, certain units as they run, and they connect the upper rim to like above the ionosphere to inside the earth. They create fields in the atmosphere that are quite large. Sometimes they could be 10 miles in diameter. And so the fields that will be created are like toroidal. They'll create the toroidal fields they'll be flowing in, they'll be flowing from above and below. They'll be counter-rotating toroidal fields with streams of energy going through them. And so that toroidal field essentially at an etheric level and then in the atmospheric level will be bringing particles into the center. And in that neutral point, there's a high intensity of neutral energy that's being connected with the unit and with the ionosphere. So we're bolstering the ionosphere, we're feeding it energy, replenishing it, strengthening the ozone layer, replenishing that whole, balancing that energy field between the earth and the ionosphere. So we're bringing tremendous balance to it, but also what we're doing is we're bringing a heightened level of energized particles, neutral particles, to that area that will then transmute particles that should not be there, and then bring particles into alignment with the correct ratio for that particular area. At any given moment, at any given location on the planet, the ideal ratio of elements or chemicals, if you will, in that area changes. It changes throughout the day, it changes throughout seasons, it changes with the elevation, with the temperatures. There's a lot of factors involved. So simply trying to remove carbon dioxide is not necessarily a great idea, because what happens is you just create a new incorrect ratio of poisonous elements or incorrect ratio of polluted elements or pollution in the atmosphere. So it's ideal. The bottom line of this is give the earth the tools it needs to create the ideal ratios that it is already capable of creating. And that's one thing that this magnetic energy technology does, is it empowers the earth and enhances the natural processes of the earth so that it can create the elemental ratios that it wants to create, both in the air and the water. Now, as far as water goes, of course, we've got things like the water purifier that can do small-scale purification of water for drinking and for agriculture and various uses. But when you're talking about a lot of garbage, like in the ocean and garbage islands and garbage underwater, above water, and then garbage in the land and landfills, we get into a different type of technology for that. And it comes back to this whole idea that magnetic energy is the ability to unlock, provides the ability to unlock the molecular lock. And so neutral pulsing magnetic fields at various pulse rates can unlock molecular structures for any element. And so you can essentially set up, for example, you could go to a garbage dump. You could go to a landfill, and you could set up magnetic energy towers around that landfill, pulse that entire landfill, and you could take a whole mountain of garbage and literally and literally turn it into a pile of dust. And so that's an important concept to remember for trash, for garbage. And the same thing with the oceans. You could take an island of garbage, surround it with the proper magnetic fields, pulse those magnetic fields, and specifically target inorganic material in those islands, and turn those islands into a benign almost nothing into almost nothing. Literally, you take tons and tons and tons of garbage and end up with very benign level of like dust or dirt or whatever you want to call it that's left. And so that's one possible way, is to just transmute or transform those elements into nothing. Another possible way of collecting garbage, especially in the ocean, is you could have magnetic buoys that literally attract any garbage to them in the oceans. So these buoys would essentially run forever, or as long as they're needed. They would attract garbage like a magnet. They would attract garbage to them and then convert that garbage into something valuable. Either we could just convert it into nothing, or just send it into something benign for the water that just doesn't really impact life at all. On a more advanced level, there's a lot of animals and fish and organisms that are consuming things that they should not be consuming in terms of chemicals and plastics. There are certain fields that we could emit that just cover areas of the ocean that would help those animals, those fish, or whatever it is, to rid their bodies of those toxins and of those plastics. And we could do the same thing for humans too, but we would do that probably more in a professional medical setting, and provide chambers that people could go into that would remove all the toxins from their body. So we're talking about, we've got modalities for cleaning the air, modalities for cleaning the water. The earth might be a little trickier depending on where the pollution is, how deep the pollution is, and the level of intensity that the fields are required. But it's something that could be tackled, and that will be tackled ultimately with this technology. Even if it takes some evolution in the technology, it would certainly happen very quickly once the concepts are grasped and engineers can really go to town. They go to town on developing new ideas for this. So as you think about the environment and the different levels of pollution and the technology required to tackle each scenario, magnetic technology provides great ideas and great modalities for cleaning that. And it also, what it does is it enhances the natural processes of the earth to be able to clean itself. Then it also can engage people as conscientious beings and movers of that energy with intention and thought, to engage people in that process. So as people come together and they group meditate, or they put out an intention to clean certain bodies of water, clean certain types of pollution in the air, that process could also be greatly enhanced, not only with an evolution in consciousness that we sincerely hope is coming, but with the evolution of technology that could support that process as well. In this arena of pollution and technology, we've got to discuss one of the most important implications from a magnetic energy point of view of what's been happening on our planet that needs to stop. And that is the manipulation of elements. Anytime that people manipulate or change an element or make an extraction of that element, and they change it from what naturally occurs in nature, that creates problems from a magnetic energy perspective and from a higher dimensional perspective, where our existence and what allows for our existence to be full of life and vibration and energy and higher energy consciousness Having natural elemental templates at a higher frequency that our elements connect to and have an energy flow through those, it provides something very special to the environment, and natural elements reverberate and they're energized with etheric energy. Unnatural elements, not so much. And so things like plastic, at some point, the human race really needs to disregard all elements that are not naturally occurring, or all objects that didn't naturally occur from nature. The biggest example of this that is terrible not only for our planet but for all of our neighboring systems in the galaxy and beyond is the advent or the development of radioactive materials that do not naturally occur. So when you take a naturally occurring element like uranium and you refine that and process that, and you create a whole host of other elements that do not have a higher dimensional template feeding energy into them, that creates such an incredible distortion in the energy flow and the energy fields around their planet that are highly sensitive. And that radiation, that harmful radiation, carries through and contaminates the magnetic streams coming out of our solar system, going into other solar systems. So this planet is a very big problem right now in our galactic community, because we are providing contamination that extends to other systems through hyperdimensional, interdimensional magnetic rivers that connect all of us. That contamination, which is the result of manipulating natural elements, that is a huge problem that has to stop. Not only do we need to take all radioactive elements and use magnetic technology to neutralize them, to break them down back into nothing, essentially, we have to stop that entire process of manipulating elements. It's so important. Anything that doesn't occur in nature should not be made. I hope that's just the simplest way to say that. That's the safest rule to follow. If it doesn't occur in nature, don't do it. Don't manufacture it. Don't create it. Don't manipulate the elements. Stick with what's naturally occurring. When science reaches the point where it is obvious that we can analyze interdimensional processes, that we can analyze electron core structures and subatomic core structures, everything I'm saying right now will become very apparent, and it will become obvious that it's true, that you have to stick with what's naturally available, because those elements are specific to this dimension, specific to our physical, what we call our physical universe, and to go beyond those creates all kinds of etheric problems and problems with the energy streams and the vibrations and the balancing of energy around our planet and beyond. So this will be a short video, but I just want to leave it with that. That's a really important point that we have to touch on. The pollution on our planet is polluting so much more than just our system, our solar system. It's going far beyond that, and that pollution really has to stop. And so we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of cleaning up to do, and we've got a rising consciousness on the horizon that is in process, that should be helping us through that, and some awesome magnetic technology that will help really provide a cleaner world and a cleaner world beyond us, and let us be a valuable contributor to the energetic streams that connect all these different solar systems and other life forms. So with that crazy, wild, out there thought, I will see you next time.